We had only one incident where a small child spit on one of the pastors.
You know he felt like he was in one of those civil rights movies. You know he did. You know he felt like he was an extra in Selma. Just keep marching. Just keep marching to the church. Wade in the water. Wade in... Actually, you know he didn't have that much soul when he was singing. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade.
Trust them big nostrils over yonder.
Such good English. It's beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully?
It's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
I know it's tough doing what's hard, but we could use more men like you.
Is your eye okay? What happened to you?
Turns out even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually.
Extra dope.
Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and this is the Reese Waters Award Show. Today, we'll be giving out the Uncle Ruckus Trophy. That's right. We're going to see who will house the Uncle Ruckus Trophy throughout 2026. It kind of travels around, you know, like the Stanley Cup. Now, I know some of you might be unfamiliar with Uncle Ruckus.
Oh, the white man's science is amazing, ain't it? Oh, no, this can't be. It says I'm 102% African with a 2% margin of error. Why, Lord? Why, Lord? Why?
Here is where we highlight those members of the Black community that have made very specific and unique contributions in service of white supremacy. You know, the kinds of people who will say,
I've been Black in America my whole life.
Because if not, you might forget you were at their baby shower and you didn't see not one semblance of it. And of course, if there's any question, there's a couple litmus tests that you can throw out and see what it is.
Finish this response. God is good.
God is good. Amen.
No. No. I thought you were going to say God is great. Thank you for the 48.
God is great.
No. God, all right,
Y'all not going to give it answers?
I'm going to do you, Charlamagne.
Yeah.
Charlamagne, God is good.
All the time.
So today, I would like to start off with our first number.
I am speaking.
Well, it looked like we got some hecklers. It looked like somebody's mad they wasn't nominated. That's what, hey, it wasn't for lack of trying. That's what you know what? I'm going to let you finish.
Later, your electric bill is up and they call it freedom. 4 years later, they're taking your girl children's scholarships and giving it to biological males and they call it freedom.
But see, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. See, here at the Uncle Ruckus Awards, you do have freedom. Because if you go to the after party, you have freedom to say stuff like, Daddy's back, about a white man.
Daddy's back.
I start each day by thanking the white man for the sunrise, for the land I walk on, for the air I breathe.
You could walk out on stage to I Wish I Was in Dixie if you want to, right here at the Uncle Ruckus Awards.
Oh, I wish I was in a land of...
But I would be remiss if we didn't start with a moment of silence for the current reigning and defending Uncle Ruckus Award winner, Mark Robinson.
The people that were talking about reparations in this country, they wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes.
I'm happy at the back of the bus. Oh, my eyeball!
Or rather, should I say, mini soldier.
6 men, yes, 6 men, there are 6 sources to this piece, say Robinson was a regular customer at multiple adult video stores, often paying to view or purchase pornography as frequently as 5 nights a week. It's practically a job.
Oh my God. Now here's where it gets interesting, because in the same way that all of our nominees and And all the people that thought they might have been nominated can come here and network and find ways to push white supremacy on into 2026. The same was true of Mark Robinson.
2 + 2 don't equal transgender. It equals 4. You need to get back to teaching them how to read instead of teaching them how to go to hell.
That's a tsunami. And I feel like I'm the only person in position to say this. And because I can say it with empathy and I can say it with sincerity, and no one can say I'm trying to be politically incorrect or impolite. If Mark Robinson, just like Jason Whitlock, if he addresses his weight problem, we both have a weight problem, but if that man addresses his weight problem, he'll be the president of the United States in 2028. Big Papa, the notorious GOP, if he gets that weight off, he'll be the president of the United States in 2028.
And like I said, and going back to Whitlock, I don't think he can comment on anything but snacks.
And by the way, that wasn't the only thing they had in common.
I got a lot of discipline, but he, 25-year-old with them big cans and that peanut butter skin who has nothing to say, at some point I'm going to lose respect. And I'm like, well, the only thing she's got to offer is them big cans and that peanut butter skin.
That's wild. I never heard Mark Robinson say nothing like that. That's a lie. Mark Robinson said way worse stuff.
Let's say I was the governor, I had a willing legislature. We could pass a bill saying you can't have an abortion in North Carolina for any reason.
For me, there is no compromise on abortion. It makes no difference to me why or how that child ended up in that womb.
Abortion in this country is not about protecting the lives of mothers. It's about killing a child because you aren't responsible enough to keep your skirt down. It's not your body anymore.
Next thing we know, we're going to see Mark Robinson and Jason Whitlock together on the sidelines for the University of Michigan. By the way, whose former coach said he didn't see color. You know, birds of a feather. Yeah, but I bet you he saw those black and white stripes on that jumpsuit when they came to pick him up. Where do you think they took him to prison? 1927? You think he was cellies with Al Capone? They don't do the black and white stripes no more.
Black fatigue. If you have not heard the term, if you're not on X, formerly known as Twitter, you may be unaware that this conversation is going on. But if you're on social media and if you understand the impact of X/Twitter, and that like the Black Lives Matter movement started on Twitter, and now there's a response movement being started on Twitter, and it's called Black Fatigue. And it is the antithesis. It is the yin to the yang of Black Lives Matter. It's white people loudly, boldly expressing their fatigue with black people. This is and was inevitable. And that's why I spent so much time during the whole Black Lives Matter psyop, about a decade, saying like, this is crazy. Black Lives Matters is going to create a boomerang effect. It's going to harden hearts. You're not going to host a decade-long discussion on social media and in mainstream media about how awful white people are and what victims we are. And oh my God, once every 3 or 4 months, there's a controversial police-involved shooting with a resisting career criminal. That was inevitably going to spark a backlash. And now the backlash is here, and it's called Black Fatigue.
Now, under normal circumstances, we have the usual response to that kind of rhetoric.
Going back to Whitlock, I don't think he can comment on anything but snacks.
Now, that's a little harsh.
But something unique happened in 2025. Coming out of this new Trump administration taking office, all of a sudden, Black MAGA became quite expendable now, didn't they? Yeah, there's a reason why I was able to spin off a whole nother video out from FAFO of the year. All of a sudden, they started telling you exactly what they thought.
In a way, I'm done with all the Uncle Toms. I'm done with Jason Whitlock. I'm done with Candace Owens. I'm done with all the Uncle Tom token blacks. Like, you're not that smart. You're not even that conservative. You built your career on a grift that is now dead. You were hired when diversity quotas were a thing. You were hired when white guilt is a thing. I don't feel white guilt. I never have. DEI is over. So now you're done. You need to be fired. Like, you're done.
Man, that's sad. That's sad. They dumped Jason Whitlock faster than they did Winsome Sears. I am sweating. Not to mention the fact that not only did Black MAGA become expendable in 2025, much like the rest of MAGA, where you saw massive infighting, that was the case in Black MAGA too.
Did you tell them that once this same article in Deadspin came out, weeks later you wrote a lengthy apology to me in an email, begging me to forgive you, pointing out how you were betrayed by this particular writer, so you know how I must feel that you betrayed me? Did you tell the folks that, you bitch?
Oh, I'm so glad you could make it. Our first nominee, Stephen A. Smith.
Democrats look when they now try to attack Trump because they say he pays no attention to the facts. How do they look now when they say he doesn't provide leadership? How do they sound now when they accuse him of lawlessness? I mean, at some point in time, we just have to give the man credit. He's shrewd as hell. He really is. I mean, he is giving the Democratic Party lessons. Lessons. I mean, school is in session. He's closer to normal than what we see.
Exactly.
Left. That's what they're saying. He's closer to normal. Why? Because something that pertains, when you talk about the transgender community, for example, and you're talking about the issues that pertain to less than 1% of the population, the Democratic Party came across as if that was a priority more so than the other issues. And so he comes into office, he's saying, I kept my promise. A lot of other things that he's going to point to that he's going to try to do, I kept my promise. Then you turn around and you look at the left and you say, what promises did you keep? Now, you might know the answer to that. I'm certainly not questioning your knowledge about that at all. What I'm saying is what resonated with the voter. What voter out there can look at the Democratic Party at this moment in time and say, there's a voice for us, somebody that speaks for us, that goes up on Capitol Hill and fights the fights that we want them fighting on our behalf. They didn't do that. And that's why their behinds are home, and that man is back into the White House, and they want to sit up there and talk. You look at the networks right now, they're talking about him. Look at it. This is the latest. Look at him. Here he goes again. Well, you know what here he goes again means? He's doing what he said he was going to do. He promised you he was going to do these things, and he walked into office week one, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's saying, y'all do something about it. And when you try to do something about it, he's going to say, look at them now. Now they're concerned about these issues. Were they talking about that during the campaign? Hell no. That's really it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we got him praising Trump, which is hard to do in 2025 because of how much damage he did to the party, his reputation, and to the country. So could you get him downplaying that?
With all of these things that's going on, with the 2017 tax cuts reserved, with so much stuff that's going on that the left didn't want to happen, that you on the right said you wanted to happen, with the borders being closed, supposedly that being handled, with migrants being escorted out of this country in droves, according to you, and what you wanted, you're in an uproar off the Epstein list. That's all you've got? It's really, really surprising that this matters. Of course, I think there's a list, but I don't know. I suspect, but I have no knowledge, nor do I care. It's Friday night. I'm getting ready to go out and enjoy myself. I'm getting ready to have a nice weekend. I could give a about the client, the Epstein client list. This has no effect on me whatsoever. I have a life.
Now, when you couldn't find airtime to praise Trump or downplay the damage that he's done, which is almost imaginable because you have so much airtime, but why not just attack the Democrats? Well, you can just attack Kamala. That's fine.
When you had an opportunity as the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States of America to to address so many different issues. And instead, what you did was go into protective mode. You wanted to show your loyalty or what have you, and then you lose the election. And what you want to do is point out all the reasons that you didn't win and point the finger of blame, it seems, in everybody else's direction instead of yourself. I don't think that she's going to have any support from the Democratic Party. I can tell you that much. And then you have to take into consideration the level of support that she had coming in. This is an individual that was, that was used to bypass what some would say the democratic process is. There was no primary. The reality is that you were the vice president. You were swearing up and down that you were in the room for all the major decisions. And then come to find out, you're acknowledging that that was not the case. So if you're an American voter, which I am, and I'm hearing this stuff from you now, which was opposite of what you were verbalizing to America in pursuit of their vote, now that you're trying to sell a book and we're hearing a totally different tune, all I'm trying to say to you is that folks are going to remember that, and you weren't that strong of a candidate before. Respectfully, remember, she didn't make it to Iowa in 2020, okay? And then in 2024, you lost every swing state. You lost the popular vote for the first time since 2004. Nobody wants to hear it now. I believe her political career is over.
That's right. That came in 2025. Along with the reckoning of sorts with Cari Champion and Jemele Hill about his treatment of black women. Yeah, that's right. That is right. That all of that happened. That's all part of your nomination. It's pushing it pretty strong.
He was talking about your show.
Now, up to this point, we've had standard black conservatism from Stephen A. Smith, but what makes his form of ruckus so insidious is that's not how he would characterize himself at all. No, he calls himself a Democratic voter, which makes his form of ruckus particularly effective to those who don't know better. The disillusioned Democrat who sits up and rails against the Democrats all day long, even when they're not in power. Neither house in Congress or the Supreme Court. Certainly not the White House. Nobody in the cabinet. We're going to attack the Democrats.
Your thoughts?
What? What? Who? Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that the Epstein files were in existence and free to have been opened during the Biden administration. You were there for 4 years. How come you didn't open it as a Democratic Party then? What am I missing? I'm not saying I know. It's a legitimate question.
We about to fact check this. First, if you mess with me, make sure you hit that follow button. Let's get it. What the hell is he talking about? First of all, the reason why the Epstein file is such a big talking point is because Donald Trump promised the American people he would release it.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah, I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
But who told you that Democrats weren't trying to release the Epstein files during the Biden administration? Because that's just not true. In fact, it's been reported that Democrats were trying to get these Epstein files out since 2018. In fact, Democratic Florida Representatives Debbie Schultz and Louis Franco tried to get the Epstein reports before Epstein was arrested. And in August of 2019, when Epstein lost his life, Ro Khanna asked for an investigation on this. And in 2020, Democrats were trying to figure out why did Epstein get a slap on the wrist during his first trial. And in 2021, they tried to release Epstein records, but they were denied or delayed. And it wasn't until late 2024 that the Epstein testimonies were released. So the release of the Epstein files was wanted for 7 years now. And you would have known that if you'd have done the research.
Which brings me to the second reason his form of ruckus is particularly insidious: the rampant misinformation. His many platforms is basically like a spoken word X feed, not a Google Insight, which could have rectified so many of the claims that he makes. And if you wonder how something like that could happen, well, he gave up the whole game with regards to Jimmy Kimmel.
I am incredibly alarmed by what appears to be our First Amendment rights being attacked. This is what I do for a living. I don't like that. But you know he's coming. The man is coming. And you have to adjust accordingly.
That's right. You heard it. You know how Trump is, so we just gotta move accordingly. So that whole thing about ideals and values and courage and truth telling and all that, you know how Trump is. So you just got to say what you got to say. He literally just said it. And he said it with a straight face and with pride. He told you all about himself. And it's no wonder why him coming for Jasmine Crockett went the way that it did.
I wanted to take this opportunity to attack this issue as it pertained to me and Jasmine Crockett because I personally have had an issue with how things have been misconstrued and misinterpreted. But at the end of the day, I have to own it. And that's what I'm going to do today. And so when somebody says to me, Stephen, rather than point to her and her verbiage and her language and how she talked about the president, what about how he talks? I have no problem with that. I can understand that. And if that is the reason that everybody is in an uproar, that is fine. And I have no problem apologizing to that to my sister because, damn it, I want her to know I don't feel that way about her.
You got him? You got it. You got it.
Stephen A. Smith didn't apologize to me. He somewhat apologized to Rep. Jasmine Crockett. And I'm not going to speak for her, but I don't accept his apology. I don't, because look, I'm 61. I'm probably about Stephen A. Smith's name, and we've all met people like Stephen A. Smith, that they play in our faces, as we say in our community, and then when he's outside the community, he joins in bashing us. And very specifically, men like Stephen A. Smith, misogynists, like to bash women. And very specifically, again, he likes to bash black women because the people he hangs out with are misogynists. And what he has to offer is he has access to and is aware of what's happening in the black community. So he feels very, very comfortable saying nasty things about us, right? He loved talking about Jasmine Crockett because his MAGA audience eats that up. He had the nerve to call her all the stereotypical things, right? Loud, the language she uses, and all that kind of stuff. And after the backlash, he came back and said, well, I guess I could have been listening to what Donald Trump was saying about her. Man, shut up. That man been talking about Michelle Obama for 10 years. He talked about Kamala Harris, called her stupid. Ketanji Brown Jackson called her stupid. Jasmine Crockett is just the latest. He talked about AOC. He has talked about every woman of color for the last 10 years in the worst, most vile, disgusting ways. And you jumped in and sided with him in bashing Rep. Jasmine Crockett. Nobody wants to hear your apology. And you know what? Actually, you ought to be ashamed. You ought to be ashamed. And you know what? Step out of the political arena. Because that little contrarian stuff you do to generate clicks and views on your little TV show, that's just that sports talk. We've all been doing that since we were 8 years old. Who's better, LeBron or MJ? Right? Who's better, Kareem or Wilt? That stuff, we talk about that stuff like kids talk about Pokemon or DC versus Marvel. That's just nonsense stuff. In politics right now, we got a literal fascist in the White House. He's disappearing people. The government is shut down. They're doing extrajudicial killings off the coast of Venezuela. Probably going to overthrow that government in Venezuela. All this stuff they're doing, and you fixing your mouth to talk about Rep. Jasmine Crockett. Shut up, Stephen. Just like Charles Barkley said about you years ago, just because you're the loudest don't mean you're right. And you know what? It's worse than that. Shut up.
Oh, don't worry, Stephen A. You're not the only nominee that Jasmine Crockett had to get together in 2025.
This debate, my heart simply broke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of my bill, H.R. 4922, the D.C. Crimes Act. Rather than prioritizing the safety of law-abiding and protecting the lives of innocent residents and visitors, district officials have actively facilitated dysfunction and chaos through their progressive soft-on-crime policies. Instead of addressing the clear epidemic of youth crime in the city, the D.C. City Council increased the age of youth offenders to individuals 24 years old and younger, meaning fully grown legal adults in the District of Columbia can receive sentences meant for children. This is simply insane. And that is why I introduced the DC Crimes Act, which lowers the definition of youth from under the age of 25 to under the age of 18, removes the ability of judges to sentence youth offenders below mandatory minimum guidelines, and requires the DC Attorney General to establish a public website containing much needed statistics on juvenile crime in DC. The Trump administration's efforts have shown that lawlessness is a choice. And it is time for Congress to step up, adhere to our constitutional duty, and firmly address crime in the nation's capital.
Many people know me for being able to do alliterations, and all I could think about was amnesia allows adolescent accountability avoidance, agility from across the aisle. So work with me for a second. Imagine being a young man born to Jamaican and Panamanian parents who messed up not once, but twice. Imagine standing in front of a judge with your whole future hanging in the balance, and instead of prison, you are given a promise of mercy. Your record gets wiped clean. You get a second chance at life. Now imagine taking that promise and turning it into promotion. You go to college, you get a job, and even become a member of Congress. That's what redemption looks like. That's what America is supposed to be about. And that is exactly the story of the next wannabe governor from Florida. As a young man, he went through pretrial diversion for misdemeanor marijuana possession. As an adult, yet younger than 24, he was charged with and ultimately placed on probation for felony bribery charges, which ultimately were 2 expunged. He was given a third chance, and now he's the face of a bill that would not afford young people in Washington, D.C. the same opportunities afforded to him. Let me be real. If he had grown up under Donald Trump's America or under the very DC crime bill he's pushing today, he wouldn't be standing here as a member of Congress.
So if you're following, that was Congressman Byron Donalds trying to strip away the same second chances from kids in DC that he was able to take advantage of himself down in Florida, while running for governor and saying, don't bring your politics from New York, which, by the way, is where he's from. You see it like so on the, they do your research for you. Somebody need to tell Stephen A. They literally do just assume hypocrisy and you will find all of the breadcrumbs. They're right there. It'd be like Myron Gaines going in and talking about how he don't want to be around black people.
Black people don't want to live around black people. I don't want to live around a bunch of black people. I move to neighborhoods where it's majority white because I know I'm safe. Now, this is uncomfortable reality that no one wants to say, so I'll say it for them. Black people commit a lot of crimes. The majority of the violent crime committed in the United States is committed by a small percentage of people, and they tend to be black men.
Excuse me, what did you say? Myron, did you actually even do your research? Because I did. First, you said that black men commits the most violent crime in America. Yeah, that's a lie. If we just look at the #1 violent crime in America, it's domestic assault. And since you guys like looking at arrest statistics, who's the #1 race arrested for that? Oh, white men. And for some strange reason, people believe that white neighborhoods are more safer than black neighborhoods. Here we have a table that shows white and black men's #1 cause of death from ages 10 to 34. And as you can see, it's unintentional injuries. And if you don't know, the #1 cause of unintentional death is ODing. For the sake of this video, we're gonna call it poisoning. And we all agree that narcotics shouldn't be flooding our streets. But if we just look at the raw numbers, we can see that more white men gets unalived by poisoning than the amount of black men that gets unalived in the same age group. And I know a lot of you guys are going to talk about per capita, but I showed you an actual raw number, proving that more white people gets unalived by unintentional death than black on black crime happening. So you can also infer that there's more bodies racking up in these white neighborhoods than black neighborhoods. So maybe we need more police officers watching the streets in these white neighborhoods to stop these drugs.
And then wondering why he's standing on the outside of AmFest.
Being a token to white supremacy is not that beneficial in 2025, and Myron Gaines is learning the hard way as he was denied entry to Turning Point USA AmFest event. Fresh and Fit used to go viral weekly for their rage baiting, but they don't have that type of motion anymore because red pill content don't hit like that these days. And it's not hitting because MAGA is in power and they control everything. So now that they have no use for minorities, they have thrown people like Myron Gaines to the side. And the people like him that don't know any better and that's all they do, they're trying to double down and triple down. And it's like, nobody cares anymore, bro. You served your purpose. You was a token that was spent and they don't give a fuck about you. And it's like a lot of minorities and other races that tried to align with white supremacy and MAGA have learned once they got your vote, they have not given a fuck about you. Some people that were trying to get cabinet positions didn't get that. All the people that grift to the right now have slowly been realizing, damn, I'm not hitting like I used to. And now Myron Gaines can't even get into Turning Point USA. They don't have no use for people like you anymore. And when are y'all gonna fucking realize it?
Apparently they don't want to be around black people. Apparently that's, they must be fans. Myron, they must be fans. You know, they went into AmFest to relax, and we all know if you're around black people, you can't relax.
Why doesn't rap music make white people go just murder people in the streets? Is this a culture thing, or is this just simply a race issue?
It's culture, it's IQ, it's heritage, all these things play a role. But I have a saying, around the blacks, never relax. Take from that what you will.
Living around white people is not a human right. You don't get to live with us all the time, all right? This is our country that we built. Yeah, white immigrants built this country, thank you.
No, it's the truth. This country was founded by white Protestant
And yes,
men.
I understand that black people have been a part of this country since the beginning because of slavery, and I'm not
I
endorsing
think the girls
slavery.
over there don't like what you're saying.
And I know that, yeah. The logical consequence of slavery is that, you know, you have these people displaced in this country. At the time, you know, maybe the better choice should have been to just send them back to Africa. Clearly, they can't integrate in a proper society and live with us without just murdering each other in the street. It's not a culture issue. It's not socioeconomics. It's not religion. Then, you know, what is it?
But you did stand there and let them make a mockery of you, didn't you? Yeah, you waited and let them clean it up after it had gone viral, because to some people, that validation is the only thing worth gaining.
To be honest, I don't want to live in the United States of America if it's not majority white.
So the question that Black MAGA has been unable to answer and that will plague them throughout 2026 is, why should they respect or consider you at all when this is how you move?
I've been thinking for the longest, Tucker Carlson said there's a lot of Republicans feel that they're trying to change the demographics of this country, which I don't think that's what they're doing. They're trying to replace black people. Yeah, because y'all sorry. Yeah. They're going to do the exact same thing what they did to black people was they're going to do it to the Latinos and these people coming here. Because I know everybody knows why they're coming here. It's because Biden's in office and people are telling them, hey, you can come here. And they're going to have an allegiance towards Biden. That's what's really going on. I mean, I don't care. I got money. I live in a rich white neighborhood. I don't give a shit about these. I'm just trying to help y'all out.
Which brings me to my next nominee, Officer Tatum.
For whatever reason, you get too many black people in one spot, stuff start going south.
Oh, you know what? That must have been why he was so upset about not getting invited to any of the Charlie Kirk Memorial stuff. That's probably why, because he knew it wasn't going to be, you know what I mean? He knew, he was like, that's a safe place for me. That's why, that was why. That was what he was upset about.
I'm very angry because, you know, you don't get your lick back.
But the insanity of reacting that way in public after you said you wouldn't cry if your own kids passed is particularly nasty work.
For my wife.
Really?
I just wouldn't.
What if your kid died?
And that's a different thing. I mean, I would try not to cry for my wife if my kid
To be
died.
like the support.
No, yeah, I'm her foundation. I'm her strong point.
But Officer Tatum has earned his way onto the nomination stage, not just with his anti-blackness, but it was also his conversion to Judaism.
We had only one incident where a small child spit on one of the pastors. And immediately after, there was an adult that came by and said, that's not a representation of who we are. You know, we love you guys. You guys are always welcome here.
You know, he felt like he was in one of those civil rights movies. You know he did. You know, he felt like he was an extra in Selma. Just keep marching. Just keep marching to the church. Wade in the water. Wade in... Actually, you know he didn't have that much soul when he was singing. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade.
Trust them big nostrils over yonder. They suck up so much air, it'll make you wonder.
He was so committed to his newfound Jewish faith, he kept it up even despite the revolt of his own fans.
But the downfall that you've had recently because of Israel and your stance on it, it's not like it's not just a stance, okay? You can have a stance on everything, right? You can have your stance on whatever the hell you want. It does not matter. It is your opinion and move on. But it's not just a stance that you've had. It is a full-blown out defense on various different podcasts and interviews, and especially X is a huge defense of Israel.
And I'll be honest, I'm pretty conflicted because how much sympathy do you feel for a former Officer Tatum fan? You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate you for having logic and wisdom now, but you also spent untold hours you can't get back listening to Officer. Like, I know how you feel about us. So, wait a minute. Is that? Wow. For the first time ever, a historic occasion, we have a non-black nominee for the Uncle Ruckus Award. Come on down, Vivek Ramaswamy.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
Now, we knew exactly what it was last year with Vivek Ramaswamy and Ann Coulter, and not to be omitted from that. Not only did he not stand up for himself, and because you're Indian, he also didn't check the anti-blackness at all either. So I don't know who you expect to have your back now. Certainly not his own kind. Not when he's going to uplift an administration that's trying to get rid of birthright citizenship, considering.
So your father is not a citizen of the United States?
He's not.
And your mother, when did your mom take the citizenship test? Was it before or after you were born?
After I was born.
After you were born. Okay.
After years of being in this, following the legal process of becoming a naturalized citizen, she followed it through the legal process. And
so
I think
you gained citizenship through birthright then?
Well, but you gained citizenship through birthright citizenship in that sense too, right?
Wait, I'm sorry, just to backtrack. So your father is not a citizen,
They came to this country legally.
The kind of man that would show up to Cincinnati and try and amplify racial tension and then get told exactly where to go. And it wasn't a Christian church.
I'm not going to say America was perfect for every chapter of our national history. Of course not. We're a nation founded on ideals. We're a nation founded on human beings who will always fall short of those ideals. But I would rather live in a country that has ideals and falls short of them than to live in a country with no ideals at all.
I listen to the Most High. I don't listen to man. Because man is not who saved me. So it tells you in the scriptures a perpetual hatred. And that's what I see every day. You can go on YouTube all around the nation, and what do you see? Our people getting crucified. But nobody steps up and say anything about it. But when something happens like this, it's a big uproar. Well, to my understanding, the gentleman was the one who cast the first stone. And I think you have a stand your ground law here in Ohio saying that you can defend yourself even with a weapon. And anybody with you can defend also.
The kind of man who would show up to Turning Point USA with foundation 4 shades lighter than his natural. And a full face of conspicuous makeup rendering him 3 shades lighter than normal, current candidate for Ohio Governor Vivek Ramaswamy took the stage at a Montana State University Turning Point USA event. The kind of man who can't open his phone without seeing Apu memes or you're going to get deported just for living, but then wants to take the stage and rail against identity politics and the left. Oh, this is a nice one. He's posting about meeting his wife here and there and when is your dad getting deported? You're both going back to India. Here's a photo he posted of his son on the beach, to which the response was teaching son to poop on the beach. You know it's bad when Dinesh D'Souza is going harder than you. Like, you know what I mean? When Dinesh D'Souza is questioning your gangster, like, you know it's bad. You know, unless you Laura Ingraham. Look it up. All right, it's time to announce a winner. Y'all ready? Let's check out the members' vote. And with over 50% of the vote, that is substantial, the Uncle Ruckus Trophy in 2026 goes to Stephen A. Smith. Hey, congratulations. Well, you always love a new platform. What you mean you a Democrat? Blasphemy. Blasphemy. No. He got the unmitigated gall to claim he a Democrat. No, we all saw through it. The boy can't play. He got bad feet, bad hands. Now get him out of here. Hey, security. Is Scott Bessent still here? Tell Scott Bessent we got one.
White man just a joy to be around. They smell like lemon juice and pledge furniture cleaner. And look at them, they gave us discipline, jobs, put structure in our lives, took us out the jungle. And what we do to show our appreciation? We march up and down the street. We vote.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the video. It's the end of another year we won't be able to explain to our kids. And what did we learn? Never trust a Jet 2 holiday. Never take your side piece to Coldplay. Now that's neo soul territory. So much has happened in 2025. Last year this time, I was selling podcasts out the back of my trunk using rent-to-own furniture. Last year, I was sitting the bench watching JV basketball as a senior with a uniform on, hoping I don't have to play. This year, I got 3 kids and a trick knee. 2025. Well, look on the bright side. At least your year was better than Katy Perry's and Sydney Sweeney's. Taylor Swift came into 2025 thinking they were going to win the Super Bowl and definitely going to make a run this year. And she was going to have all that airtime. They lost that one. And now Travis at home for the whole off season on the couch, gaining weight as a fiance. Damn. But since it is the end of the year, I want to remind all of our members to check the community tab and vote on our year-end awards. Those are going on right now, and there's a couple of polls that we've run already. But you know what? I feel hopeful going into the new year, and this community is a big part of that. Also, the Let 'em Fight banquet is also another very big part of that. But here we're talking about this community. I'm talking about our head moderator, Miss Ray, Regina on research, and our editors, David, Denzel, and Boz, as well as all the mods that have helped us with the premieres, our research squad, which was just assembled. And by the way, if you would like to join either the research squad or be one of our volunteer mods, you can hit me up at admin@reesewaters.com. And I also have to give a special shout out to somebody who started out as one of our volunteer mods, but has become an integral part of this particular channel and has stepped up when needed, my girl Deshauna, who also sent me this photo with her discouraged, depleted, but never defeated t-shirt. And you know what, Deshauna? It looks as good as I feel when I see your name in the chat during the premiere. Thank you so much for all of your hard work, and thank all of you for all of your support. I can't wait to see what's next.